Kuala Lumpur, a cosmopolitan metropolis that is the heartbeat of Malaysia. The center of a vibrant economy that has seen an average growth of more than 7%, according to the Commission on Growth and Development. It has witnessed the diversification of Malaysia's economy over the years. So what is making KL more attractive against other hotspots in Asia? What does this city offer?
In a span of 50 years, Malaysia has gone from a country that was receiving assistance from the World Bank to a country that is actually providing support through the World Bank to other developing countries. This has been a remarkable growth. This is an economy that used to rely on rubber, on primary commodities, and now is a diversified economy, and it has used growth to reduce poverty and to share prosperity. These are very important lessons for other countries throughout the world who want to learn from the Malaysian experience.
The city is well on its way to becoming a high-income nation by 2020, and competitiveness in the regional market has propelled Malaysia to be creative and innovative when it comes to business. The world recognizes a potential within the ASEAN region and the opportunities it presents as a single market. Despite a very challenging global and domestic environment in 2015, the Malaysian economy recorded a growth of 5%, and Malaysia remains amongst the faster-growing economies in the region. 2016 has also looked positive, with growth figures beating market expectations.
The Malaysian economy and financial system is one that is robust. This is an economy that has registered growth over the past decades, even amid the current global financial turmoil, I would say. Malaysia continues to grow at a reasonably solid pace.
KL is very centrally located, so it makes it a great place to aggregate our resources in a headquarters so that we can feed the rest of our growth in the Asian countries that we're looking to grow in.
The ASEAN region has a population of 630 million with a combined GDP of 2.5 trillion US dollar. Many MNCs have recognized that ASEAN is the place to do business, and Malaysia is seen as a natural gateway and a hub for doing business in ASEAN.
In terms of communications, in terms of transportation, we're right in the middle of where all the action is. Malaysia itself, if you look at the trade routes, we're right smack in the middle between East and West, and anybody who does business here taps into that.
Hand in hand, the development of software is accompanied by the development of hardware. The landscape of Malaysia's capital city is fast changing. Building blocks that support extensive transportation systems are falling into place.
Yeah, I like the direction that KL is headed over the next 5 years in terms of their infrastructure development. Compared to the other places in Southeast Asia that I've been to anyway. It's already a pretty well-planned city. There's abundant park space. They have good infrastructure, and right now they're expanding that to make it even better, to make it more convenient. And the roads are first rate. They are taking the MRT lines and they're expanding those out to the outskirts of KL. It will make even more for a more commuter-based city where people are encouraged to ride mass transit. So as a person that has actually never owned a car, so I am constantly looking for cities that are very walkable and that I can access the public transportation. And KL is certainly getting there, and I think 5 years from now it will be a very walkable, very pedestrian-friendly city.
The construction of the MRT has seen the expertise of many multinationals and points to the future of infrastructure development within KL. The construction sector in Malaysia has been a major contributor to GDP growth. The opportunity is something that Turner recognized.
Here in KL, there's probably 5 or 6 client relationships that we have here. In construction, most notably is Merdeka PNB 118, 118-story tower downtown. There's also the ancillary development around that we're working with PNB to do, the mall, the infrastructure, and eventually the residential. So that's the most iconic project that we're working on right now. We're also working on the Four Seasons down next to the Petronas Towers, 75-story tower, retail podium, 204 room, Four Seasons 5-star hotel, and then luxury apartments on the upper floors, which is currently about halfway up. Locating our regional headquarters here in KL has really benefited Turner tremendously, both in terms of the opportunity that it's created for our staff. As I mentioned before, we've grown from starting a business here in 2011 to 75 staff members here in KL and 150 in the region. So really, it's benefited our company considerably in terms of feeding the growth that we have had and foresee to have here in Southeast Asia.
I left KL in 2002, and by the time I got back, it was 2012, and I came back as Chairman of Shell Malaysia, the job I'm currently holding. And the biggest change for me in KL over the span of the 10 years was really the growth. You know, the neighborhoods that I was used to have really grown up and being a lot more exciting. New neighborhoods have come up, but the other thing also is that, you know, the infrastructure. Malaysia is well developed, relatively speaking, with our ASEAN neighbors. All those things multinationals should take comfort from, that actually coming to KL, you're coming into one of the premier locations in ASEAN where you can run an ASEAN business from.
A cultural melting pot with various Asian races calling Kuala Lumpur, or KL as it is fondly known, home. Different races live within this vibrant city in harmony, whilst enjoying the best that each culture has to offer. This multiculturalism gives rise to a talent pool that is multilingual and adaptable. With a population of more than 7 million in Greater Kuala Lumpur and the government's dedication to investing in talent, it has become easy for multinational companies to source for talent in Malaysia.
You know, as we look at our industry, a lot of people think it's a brick and mortar industry, but really it's a people industry. Buildings get built by people, and communication is the way people interact with one another. And the talent pool here is very diverse, multilingual, and it's really quite nice to be able to tap into a talent pool that can deal with that communication and multilingual nature of our business.
KL, as we know, has a strong talent pool, and we have a young, dynamic workforce, which is multicultural and multilingual. 30% of the Malaysian population has cultural links to India and China, which is the two largest economy in Asia. They are well versed in English, which is the language of commerce.
So you've got a diverse talent that is good in English, which you need to if you want to work for a multinational, but also got good skills training. People who've had the opportunity to work in many different parts of the business, which can be exported to the group to help us develop these new businesses in other parts of the world.
At Cargill, I actually am part of a team that actually works actively in 3 areas. We do bean procurement, we do product line management, and we also do risk management. Being in a conglomerate, a multinational that has offices around the world, I am actually exposed to different sets of our working culture, different sets of people. It's about how we actually adapt and accept and try to work together.
I've been very impressed with the amount of skill sets that Malaysia's been able to fulfil for large multinational businesses when they have moved here. One of the big trends for KL is obviously for the skills being outsourced from other countries into Kuala Lumpur, and that wouldn't be possible if the skill set in Malaysia wasn't here for them to be able to receive those functions, whether it's finance, whether it's legal, or whether it's HR or something like that.
The government has acted on the need for productivity-enhancing reforms, hence the focus on the development of human capital. The Strategic Reform Initiative, under the new economic model by the government, focuses on the transformation of the workplace and the workforce. According to the Malaysian Education Blueprint, Malaysia currently has a 75% graduate employability rate, and the government aims to increase that to 80% by 2025. Hand in hand with Malaysia's rapid economic development, the country's workforce has also advanced, becoming increasingly educated and skilled. The development of tertiary education in Malaysia has also contributed positively. There has been a large increase of tertiary education in the last 20 years in both institutions and number of students.
Malaysia is really entering its golden age, and it all comes back down to the fact that it's still a very young population, but it's also a very highly skilled population. As far as the youth are concerned, we're really utilizing them to the maximum. We're training them to the best of our ability. The governments are actually embarking on improving the technical and vocational aspect of education as well. So it's not just going to be tertiary level education. So it's a better mix. It's better suited to the 21st century. So it's really an exciting time to be in Malaysia, and it's an exciting time to be part of the Malaysian workforce.
Despite being one of the more advanced cities in ASEAN in terms of facilities and infrastructure, KL is relatively affordable.
We moved the medical services headquarters from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur for a few reasons. Firstly, we took advantage of the cost competitiveness of operating out of Malaysia. Other advantages are the ease of doing business. Malaysia also have a very diversified and dynamic economy, a ready talent pool. Another advantage, of course, is the world-class infrastructure that you have in Malaysia that connect to the global supply chain. And it's important for multinational companies like us to be connected to the outside world.
The ease of doing business within Malaysia is something that attracts companies to use it as their base of business in the region. Foreign investment has spurred Malaysia forth to join the ranks of high-income economies through inclusive and sustainable growth.
The ease of doing business rankings are very important in the sense that they tell a country how it is performing vis-a-vis other countries in the region and globally.
In terms of ease of doing business, you only have to look at the competitiveness index. Malaysia ranks right up there with all the other capitals in Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore. And my own experience is that the ease of doing business here is actually quite good because government is very business friendly. Organizations are extremely helpful in helping you connect across different agencies in the country. So that's clear.
The government has done quite a few things over the past few years in terms of making doing business a lot easier. And we've seen that reflected in the continuous rise in the rankings of competitiveness, whether it's the World Banks or whether it's the World Economic Forums. And just to name a couple examples is in terms of labor market legislation. They've made things easier for part-time workers. They've made things easier in terms of expatriate work, of having one-stop centers for licensing and things like that, where it's really, really fast. They've done a lot of work in terms of changing legislation to make things easier for companies to do business, to make the labor markets more flexible in terms of cutting down on bureaucratic red tape. And it's a lot easier now than it used to be 10 or 15 years ago.
Wanting to share the Malaysia experience with other emerging Asian economies, the World Bank has set up its knowledge and research hub in Kuala Lumpur.
This office has three unique parts which work together and produce something that I think is quite exciting. One is what we call the inbound knowledge agenda, and what that is providing advisory support to the government of Malaysia as it seeks to achieve high income status by 2020. The other pillar is the outbound knowledge agenda, and that is sharing Malaysia's development experience, in which cases it has islands of wonderful experience, islands of excellence that can be and has been shared abroad, and we help share it with the rest of the world.
International trading firm Cargill has been in Malaysia since 1978. Cargill provides food, agriculture, financial and industrial products and services to the world.
When it came to trading, as well as when it came to the whole sales and marketing team, we did a whole landscape within Malaysia, Indonesia, and so on, and Singapore, and so on. And we find that we had a good optimal business environment here with the right cost base. We could also assess the markets from here. And also the technology, in terms of communication and so on, the technology is also here.
In 2013, we were doing a lot of projects in Vietnam, 6 to be exact, and we completed 3 of them. And at the same time that those projects were winding down and the Vietnamese economy was slowing down, our business really started accelerating in KL. And I think our staff, quadrupled, in the matter of about 7 or 8 months, okay? So we really came here because this is where the work was. This is where all the exciting developments were happening and everything else. After we did this and after we, decided to make a move, then, we did a research. We hired one of the big 4 consulting firms to do some research. And they came to the conclusion that we had made a pretty good decision, that everything, all the factors, aligned in terms of the livability, the cost of living, the infrastructure, ease of doing business, setting up a business. So there are a lot of factors that we kind of lucked into, to be perfectly honest.
For an investor, it is not only important what a country is doing now vis-a-vis what it has done in the past in terms of its business environment and policies. What is really important is how this country fares vis-a-vis other countries, because that investor is undertaking decisions on where to put her or his money. Will it be in this country? Will it be in that country? What was my rate of return? What is the environment that I'm going to face and the horizon that I'm going to face an investor? When an investor is looking at where to invest, she or he will look at a series of things, a series of parameters. They could be the quality of arbitration, access to credit, trade across borders, ease of getting different types of permits. It's not about looking at a number and saying, well, this number is X. It is about her or him looking at different economies and saying, I will invest here, as opposed to that.
There is a specific setup in Kuala Lumpur Assistance Center made of 2 different activities, and this is why I lacked the diversity of the position here in KL, and so that was a huge reason for me to apply for this position. As a father, of course, you want your children to have good education, and but also sometimes to rest, a lot of activities, and we found in Kuala Lumpur many things for the girls to do, because I have 2 daughters. And there is a very good French school as well. What I was looking for is freedom and security. And in Kuala Lumpur, it's a very easy to live city. You can have a car, you can drive, you can go anywhere you want. So for me, there was something very important to make sure that my wife will have a life made of freedom in a very friendly city.
What surprised me about Kuala Lumpur in terms of living here is really the diversity of Malaysia. I had been fortunate enough to travel around Malaysia prior to moving here, but certainly never spent any great period of time here. And what I received here was a happiness in the people, a compassion in people, and a flexibility in the people that allows people from outside Malaysia to come here and have very happy lives and very strong career relationships with people. I'm very happy here, and for me it's been an excellent move.
I've worked for Turner for 35 years, one company, many places, and KL is a wonderful place both to live as well as have a base of operations. The development opportunities here, the career opportunities here are wonderful. The livability and affordability, both in terms of living at home as well as the affordability in running your business, are wonderful here. Its proximity at the center of Southeast Asia makes it a wonderful hub for us to grow our business in Southeast Asia and throughout the Asian countries.
The whole vibrancy around KL has gone up a notch. Yeah, there's a lot more F&B, there's a lot more recreation, there's a lot more shopping. And KL has just become a much more livable city since 2002. And the other thing which is fun about KL is now the new connectivity with the region. When I left, AirAsia kind of just started probably at 2 aircraft, now hundreds of aircraft connected to tens of destinations around the region. So, KL now has just become really the center of ASEAN.
KL's position in Asia makes it an ideal gateway to ASEAN. With the opportunity for freer trade movements, Kuala Lumpur is not only going through a changing landscape, but is definitely enjoying its position as a regional hub in Asia. And with a diverse pool of homegrown talent, companies are not short of options when it comes to investing in human capital. Kuala Lumpur has become a center for business and innovation. This, coupled with how easy and cost competitive it is to do business here, makes the city a top choice within ASEAN, if not Asia.
KL, a city of opportunity.